For a brief window during World War II, farmers across Europe and North America were, well, forced into an agricultural experiment they never asked for. Chemical fertilizer factories were repurposed for explosives, imports collapsed, and governments told civilians a blunt truth: grow more food with less help or go hungry. What happened next should have honestly rewritten modern agriculture. Yields didn't merely hold steady. In many regions, harvests increased, soil improved, inputs dropped. And within a decade after the war, most of that knowledge quietly vanished. If you've ever wondered how farms fed entire populations under rationing, bombing, and supply collapse, this video explains the soil system behind it. Not theory, not nostalgia. A repeatable biological method that anyone with land can still use today. Why the opening minute matters, because this wasn't folklore, but policy. During the early 1940s, ministries of agriculture issued field manuals teaching farmers how to replace synthetic fertilizer with plant-driven soil fertility. These were not fringe ideas. They were government-backed programs based on soil science developed before the petrochemical boom. The core principle was simple. Soil is a living system, and plants can be used to manufacture fertility directly in the ground. What makes this worth your attention is not that it worked once, but that it worked at scale. Millions of acres were managed this way under wartime pressure. When fertilizer returned after the war, these methods conflicted with a new business model built on purchased inputs. The science didn't disappear. The teaching did. The secret was not a product, but a biological process driven by plants. The foundation of this World War II soil system was nitrogen fixation through specific crops, particularly clovers, vetches, field peas and lupins. These plants host bacteria on their roots that pull nitrogen directly from the air and store it in the soil. Wartime manuals instructed farmers to rotate these crops aggressively, not for harvest, but for soil rebuilding. The key difference from modern cover cropping is timing and intent. These plants were grown to maturity, then cut or lightly incorporated at peak nitrogen storage. No deep ploughing, no chemical boosters. The soil was allowed to digest the plant matter naturally over weeks. Farmers were told to wait, observe soil structure, and then plant heavy feeders like potatoes, wheat, or brassicas. Applied today, this means dedicating a season to soil instead of yield. Plant crimson clover in early spring. Let it flower. Cut it at ground level. Leave roots undisturbed. Wait 3 to 4 weeks. Then plant your main crop directly into that bed. The nitrogen release is slow, stable, and resistant to leaching. Carbon was treated as equally important as nitrogen, which modern fertilizer ignores. Now, another pillar of the World War II method was carbon loading. Farmers were instructed to return straw, leaves, chaff, and even shredded paper to the fields. This wasn't composting as we know it today, no, it was surface mulching designed to feed soil organisms while protecting moisture. Carbon-rich material was layered over fields after harvest and left through winter. Snow, rain, and microbial activity broke it down gradually. By spring, soil structure improved dramatically. Roots penetrated deeper. Water retention increased, and crops tolerated drought better. For modern use, this can be applied in gardens by mulching beds heavily with shredded leaves or straw after harvest, and leaving them untouched until planting time. No turning, no bagged amendments, just time and biology doing the work. Minimal disturbance preserves soil life instead of destroying it. Wartime guidance strongly discouraged deep tillage unless absolutely necessary. Farmers noticed that excessive ploughing reduced yields over time by disrupting fungal networks and compacting subsoil. Instead, shallow cultivation and hand tools were favoured. This principle translates directly today. Avoid rototilling. Use a broad fork or garden fork to loosen soil without flipping layers. Plant directly into existing beds. Let roots and organisms create structure naturally. Well, WWII farmers, they really learned the hard way that soil is not just dirt. And once it's damaged, it takes years, sometimes many years, to recover. So, why did fertilizer companies have no incentive to keep this alive? Well, that's a good question, isn't it? After the war, nitrogen production just exploded. Fertilizer could be manufactured cheaply, shipped easily, and, sold every single year. But biological fertility systems, well, those required patience, planning, and a whole lot of knowledge, not just purchases. Universities shifted their curricula, and extension services went and rewrote their manuals. Within a generation, most farmers honestly no longer knew how to grow nitrogen. This wasn't a conspiracy in the dramatic sense. It was economics, plain and simple. Systems that remove dependence don't generate recurring profit. The result is that a method capable of tripling harvests over time was labelled old-fashioned and, well, quietly dropped. So, here's how you can apply this system now without changing your entire life. Start small. Dedicate just one garden bed or plot to soil rebuilding. Plant a nitrogen-fixing crop. Let it mature. Cut, don't pull. Mulch heavily. Disturb minimally. Then plant your main crop weeks later and, just observe the difference. So, it's important to track soil texture, how well it retains moisture, and of course the vigour of your plants over a full season. Most people honestly notice stronger growth within just a few months, and a reduced need for extra inputs within about a year. That's exactly what wartime farmers documented, and it really made a difference. Now, why does this knowledge matter now more than ever? Well, it's simple. Our challenges today aren't all that different from those faced in the past. World War II, you see, proved that food security doesn't come from factories alone. It actually comes from understanding soil as a living system. This method, believe it or not, fed nations under siege. And, well, it can feed families today too. If this kind of lost history matters to you, go ahead and subscribe to the channel. And, share this with someone who still believes progress always means replacement. Some of the most effective systems we've ever used were already tested under pressure, and they worked, sometimes better than we remember.